mom came into the room and she's like, look at my phone. And then I couldn't see it, so I had to look at mine. I'm like, oh.
I can't bet against Tom Brady. I have the Bucks winning 31-27 and Tom Brady going to his 10th championship.
Yeah, and I really think the Clippers' chance to win the championship was last year. And they were up 3-1 against the Denver Nuggets.
Chris Paul is one of the most underrated players of all time. He's been the best player wherever he goes, and that includes with the Rockets.
You said you can't bet against Tom Brady, and as a Cowboys fan and what I just did last weekend, I am not going to bet against Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. I mean, that's all I can really say. There's two of the top 5 players in the league, and they are very, very good.
Hello, I'm Taylor Hearn, and you listen to The Outsiders' Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our MLB Draft review. Make sure to check out our mock draft where Austin and I, not the greatest performance. It was Austin got 1 correct and I got 2 correct. So not a huge celebration either way for both of us. I would like to blame it on the grenade that my team threw. The Kumar Rocker selection by the Texas Rangers. But we'll get there in a sec. With number 1, Jackson Holliday went to the Orioles, which was surprising because it's not an underslot deal. Something we saw with the Pirates. The Orioles didn't do that. And did I say Oreos or?
I couldn't tell. You
Okay.
kind of mixed Oreos and Orioles
All
together.
Right. So the Orioles selected him, and I think it's a great pick for them. I think they get a shortstop, which they really didn't have in their system. I know shortstop sticks out to mind. I know they have people listed at shortstop, but Jackson Holliday now fills that need, and I think it's a good selection for them. What do you think?
Yeah, and it's really there was 5 really good prospects at the top, and one of them even fell out of the top 5 because of the prediction you were saying. I mean the bomb that you were saying the Rangers threw. But it's not a bad pick. You really couldn't go wrong at the top here. I'm surprised a little bit that they didn't do it under slot because their team doesn't make a lot of money. Like overall, they don't have players that are making an exorbitant amount of money besides maybe Cedric Mullins. But it's not a bad pick, and I think Jackson Holliday will be very good.
Yeah, I agree. Now we go to number 2, where Drew Jones was selected by the D-backs. I think that's a great selection for them. I didn't really expect them to select shortstop here because they selected Jordan Lawler last year, and now they add a great player in Drew Jones, who is a great defender and can do well hitting. And now that the first and 2 picks in this draft were both sons of major leaguers, which I think can contribute to why they were selected here, because I think they've experienced it and we've seen how players, sons of major leaguers, are doing well now in the big leagues themselves. So I think that had a little bit, but both these guys were talented, and I like the selection here by the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, it's another high schooler. They don't go back-to-back drafts taking 2 shortstops. They outfielder and a shortstop, and I think both would be good in a very short time, even though both are from high school. I like this pick. I didn't have them taking Drew Jones. I thought they were going to go with another shortstop and take Brooks Lee because Brooks Lee can move other positions, and he's also a great hitter, so I thought he fit better there. But I'm not surprised by this selection. Again, anyone here at the top was really, really good.
Now we move on to the grenade, where the Rangers selected a pitcher, Kumar Rocker. It's not just that they selected a pitcher, they selected Kumar Rocker, who fell out, who was drafted number 10 by the Mets, and then it didn't work out, so he had to pitch in the independent league. And he did have surgery, even though it is unclear why he had surgery even now. Like I don't know if you heard the Rangers presser, they asked Chris Young and the scouting director, and they're like, we can't really talk about that. Talk to Kumar and the agent Scott Boras, and Kumar was like, I can't talk about that, bro, to a writer. So they're very secretive about it, which is a red flag, but I'm choosing to ignore the red flags for this moment, or I'll acknowledge them and then I'll ignore them, because it's a gigantic swing, almost a Joey Gallo swing, because if it works out, you get if Rocker is healthy, you get the 1-2 punch that Vanderbilt had when Kumar was almost, some people were predicting go number 1 and then Jack Leiter at 2, who the Rangers, they both have them now. They're teammates again, probably are going to meet up in Double A. But on the other side, you have a guy who had something with the shoulder, whose velocity was going down last year, but his velocity is back up, or it was back up in the independent leagues. So if it works out, it's an amazing find, and the Rangers get a pitcher, but the Rangers are not a team that are great at keeping pitchers healthy. So what do you think, Austin?
Yeah, there's no way either of us could have predicted this, and this really did affect how everything would have worked out. Guys got pushed back because of this pick, and while he's probably the most talented pitcher in this draft, there's a lot of risk there. There's a very low floor because of injury reasons. There's a reason why the Mets did not sign him last year because of a physical that he failed. So I wouldn't be surprised if he turns out great, but I also wouldn't be surprised if injuries derail his career, which hopefully that doesn't happen. It's a surprising pick and one that you have to hedge your bets on.
Yeah, I agree. Because if it works out, he could be in the big leagues as soon as next year. Um, and the Rangers only really have one rotation spot, and that's John Gray, maybe Martin Perez if they keep him and they don't trade him. And then you fill 2 spots with Leiter and Rocker if all works out. And then you got another pitcher that you can sign, but we can talk about that later. But I understand why they made it. I'm not sure I would have done that with Kumar, but it does allow them to do underslot. They get to save more money. But now we can go on to 4, where the Pittsburgh Pirates selected Tumar Johnson, they said he's going to stay at shortstop, but I don't really believe that because you have O'Neal Cruz at shortstop. So I think he moves to second, which would be a nice infield if Tumar plays well.
This is who I had going number 1. I think he's the best player in the draft. I really like his skill set, and I think the Pirates got the best player here, number 4, which is very good. Like you mentioned, I think he will go to second base. O'Neal Cruz is too good, defensively speaking, right now to make a grave change and move Tamar to the shortstop position for the Pirates overall. But I won't be that surprised if they both make a great middle infield for a team that I think is going to be pretty good in the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Now we go to 5, where the Washington Nationals get a center fielder or outfielder, Elijah Green. He's a high schooler, but he has a lot of upside, and I predict him going to the Rangers, but he falls out, and I think the Nationals get a great pick here, and I don't think they have to worry about getting getting college-ready players to get up to play in the next few years, because I think they're going to get a ton of players from the upcoming Juan Soto deal. So just getting a great player here seems like a good strategy to me.
Yeah, I agree. And I had Elijah Green going at 4 to the Pirates, but obviously with Tomorrow on the board, I'm not surprised that they decided to pass on Green. But Green's a great talent. I like what he can bring to the field, defensively speaking, as an outfielder. I watched some of his high school tape, and he looks very good. So I think this is a good pick, especially if they do lose Juan Soto. An outfielder will be needed, and I think they get a good one here.
Yep. Now we move on to 6, where the Miami Marlins get Jacob Berry. I'm looking at another site. Yesterday I saw he was a third baseman. This site says right fielder, so really doesn't have position, but he's a great hitter, which is something the Marlins need. So you have a DH now, so I don't blame them for getting this pick. It is a little bit high, but still, he's a fantastic hitter.
Yeah, and I had Jacob Berry going the next pick at 7, but Because I really like how he can hit. I think that his versatility as a hitter will be greatly needed on whatever team he goes to. And maybe he plays DH because he's not the best defensively, but I definitely think that his hitting warrants a high selection.
I see your point. Now we go to number 7, where the Chicago Cubs go pitcher. Once again, that's Cade Horton from Oklahoma. And he's a great pitcher. I think he had a shortened season because he got injured, or is that a different pitcher?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Okay. So still could work out for the Cubs, and they need pitching.
Yeah, the Cubs do need pitching. Their signings this past offseason didn't really work out pitching wise. So they will need to address that and try to rebuild a team that has really fallen off from their glory days.
That is very true as well. Now we go to number 8, where the Twins selected Brooks Lee, the shortstop. Very nice pick here. I think Brooks Lee is a very nice player. He's a switch hitter and good defensively for shortstop. So I think the Twins just got a great player here, which is what you want from the draft.
Yeah, and I had Brooks Lee going number 2, so that shows you how much I know. But I really like the fact that he's a switch hitter. I think he could do very well defensively speaking. I just like his skill set, so I had him rated a lot higher than some of these teams did, but I think he could be really good.
And we will see. Now we go to number 9, where Gavin Cross was selected by the Kansas City Royals. He's from Virginia Tech, another great hitter and a college player. So in a few years, he should be contributing for the Royals, and the Royals need players that can do that. So I have no complaints here.
Yeah, I'm not really as surprised about this pick. That's because this is the only one I predicted. So I thought that this should be the selection. I like Gavin Cross for the Royals that have always been based on defense in the outfield and have always had a good outfield, defensively speaking. So I like this pick.
Now we go to 10. The Rockies select the pitcher, Gabriel Hughes. So I don't think either of us had a pitcher going in the top 10. But 2 were selected in the top 10, and I understand why the Rockies made this pick. Actually, I think I had Horton selected by the Royals, but that's just 1. I wasn't expecting a lot of pitchers. Actually, 3. I forgot the Kumar Rocker selection. So 3 pitchers selected in the top 10.
Yeah, my highest chosen pitcher was at 12, and I also had another one at 13 and then 15, 16. So I had 4 within 12 through 16, but nothing before that. And I'm a little bit surprised, but again, pitching, you can't have too much of it. And if you have a really big need there, like some of these teams do, it doesn't surprise me that you take one, even if it's a little bit higher than they would be selected in another draft.
Now we go to 11, where this was a compensation pick for the Kumar Rocker pick because he didn't sign with the Mets. The Mets select Kevin Parada, which I think is a great find for them at catcher. They may trade, I believe their top prospect, is it Francisco Alvarez is a catcher? Or is he a third baseman?
I don't remember.
So he's a catcher. So thinking, I think the Mets are one of the teams that I can realistically see trading for Juan Soto, even though it's in the division. They would have to part with Francisco Alvarez or maybe Kevin Parada, but I think Parada still could pair with Alvarez if they stay together. But I think it's a nice insurance if they were to lose Alvarez in a trade.
Yeah, and I like this pick. I had Parada going at 8, so another player that falls further than what I thought would happen. So I definitely think this is a good pick, and I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes a good catcher for them moving forward.
Yeah, I had him at 5, so fell a little bit farther than he fell compared to your draft. But now we go to 12, where Jace Young from Texas Tech, the younger brother of Josh Young, gets selected by the Tigers. I like this. Tigers get another hitter. I think he's solid defensively, but just getting a nice hitter in this draft, especially a college hitter who can help you very soon, that's something that the Tigers are struggling with.
Yeah, and a Tigers team that is still struggling this season, they need as many good players as they can possibly get. And I like this selection. Another player that fell further than what I anticipated. I had Jung going to pick before at 11. So it is what it is. I like the player. I think that he'll be good moving forward, and I think the Tigers got a good pick.
Now we go to 13, where the Angels did not continue their streak from last year. They selected shortstop Zach Neto. I think great player for them, and I was expecting a pitcher, but still a very nice pick for them.
Yeah, and he is a college player, so he should have a faster track to the MLB. He went to Campbell last year. I thought that they were going to go with the pitcher again. I'm kind of shocked they didn't. However, I'm not necessarily surprised. They have Andrew Velasquez, who's been a good defensive shortstop this year, but he's hitting like 177 or something like that. Not a good clip. But they decided that it was more important for them to move forward with not having another pitcher be selected. They're struggling in a lot of facets this year, so I position needs basically everywhere besides center field.
Now we go to 14, where the Mets select another shortstop, back-to-back shortstop picks. Jet Williams, very nice player and could work out well for the Mets.
Yeah, and Jet Williams, somebody that I had going at 18 to the Reds, goes a little bit higher. It's hard with the Mets because they had two selections, so I guess they really did feel like this was the best way to go. Shortstop, they already had Francisco Lindor, but he was Jet Williams being he was a player who went to high school last year, so he can take a longer time, and maybe they trade Francisco Lindor later, or Jet Williams moves positions, or Lindor moves positions. We'll have to see what happens there. It's a little bit of a confusing pick because of their situation, but if they truly believe in his hitting or defense, then I could see them making this selection.
Yeah. Now we go to 15, where the Padres selected pitcher Dylan Lesko, which is a little risky given how he underwent Tommy John surgery in April. But if he's healthy, totally could work out for the Padres, who need pitching. Any team contending needs pitching, and it's not a swing. It's a swing AJ Preller did, and a lot of people expect him to do. So, not shocked that they made this pick.
Yeah, and they need more pitching because of injury reasons. They still are having situations where injuries are a problem. So taking a pitcher, you can't have too many of them, and especially if you're having injury problems.
Now we go to 16, where the Guardians selected Chase Delator, the outfielder from James Madison. Really nice hitter, and they have some great hitters in Ramirez and Gimenez, the second baseman.
Yeah, the guy who's starting this
Yeah.
All-Star game.
Oh, he's starting? Okay.
Yeah, because of I think Altuve got hurt or whoever is
Or is
second
it
base for
Albies? Is it Albies?
no,
Jazz?
because Jimenez plays in the AL, so that wouldn't matter. I
Oh,
think Altuve
oh,
got hurt.
my bad. So Altuve. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I must have missed that. But adding another hitter to a lineup that needs hitters, I think works out for the Guardians.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised necessarily if he's another player who becomes good. They've had like a good portion of their outfielders become really good. They traded for Miles Straw, who's a very good outfielder. They traded from Houston. He came from Houston. They also have Quan, who I think is a good outfielder. So maybe they're just trying to fill in that last spot where I really do think they need a need, or they have a need. And this is a good player for them. From what I've seen, he's a lefty and he can uh, hit the ball well for contact. So I wouldn't be surprised if he performs well.
Speaking of outfielders, the Phillies selected outfielder Justin Crawford, but he's good defensively, which I think is a huge thing that is missing in the Phillies outfield because they have Schwarber, Harper, and is there? I don't know who the center fielder is now for the Phillies.
I'm thinking center fielder. Oh, okay. I'll search it up while I talk about it. But
well, yeah, but it explains why selecting a center fielder makes sense here because we can't hasn't done a lot.
I should have known this. Is Abdul Herrera, who was an All-Star a while back in 2016 with the Phillies, but he has struggled mightily this season with a 244 batting average. And so, Justin Crawford, son of Carl Crawford, nephew of J.P. Crawford, the shortstop for the Mariners right now. So the family line continues, and yes, he's a good defender. While he isn't the greatest hitter from what I've seen, defense is very important, and especially for a Phillies organization that is struggling very much at defending.
Yes. Now we go to 18, where the Reds selected Cam Collier. I believe I had him like 6. I had him actually 4 to the Pirates. So I think this is a great selection for the Reds. He's a great player, Collier, and he's a great hitter, and just something the Reds need to add to already a stacked farm system, but just a guy that they will need in the future.
Yeah, and Cam Collier fell far from where I had him. I had him at 6. So him falling all the way to 18 is impressive. And I definitely think he was the best player available. So the Reds took him. I think it's a good pick, and they definitely need a third baseman after trading Eugenio Suarez to the Mariners before the season started.
Now we go to 19, where the Athletics selected Daniel Suzak. Maybe they trade Murphy, but they do need a catcher for the future because they traded Heim a few years ago to the Texas Rangers. And Suzak is great. He's the younger brother, former MLB catcher Andrew Suzak, who was second round pick of the Giants and was in the majors. So another bloodline. That was a very common theme this year. So Arizona college player could come up in a few years if his hitting stays on track.
Yeah, and Suzak, another player that fell from where I had him. I had him going at 14 to the Mets, but he falls. Maybe they do trade Murphy. The Athletics do, maybe. We'll see. Daniel Suzak out of Arizona. I've seen he's a very good hitter for a catcher and not bad defensively either, so I like this selection as well.
Now we go to 20, where the Braves selected Owen Murphy, a pitcher. Braves just restocking on pitching, even because their pitching looks pretty well now, even though as they're still waiting for Soroka, but you have Spencer Strider, who just came out of nowhere, Kyle Wright, but don't blame him for selecting Murphy here.
Yeah, and I'm not really all that surprised because it was a position of need because of injury issues, and he's a high school senior, so he'll take a little bit longer to develop, and that fits their timeline moving forward so they can stay competitive after a long stretch.
Now we go to 21, where the Mariners selected a shortstop, Cole Young. Selecting a shortstop was a little surprising to me for the Mariners because I think they're pretty set with J.P. Crawford. But he is a high school player, so it could take some more time. But if he hits, you can always find a place to put a hitting player that plays shortstop.
Yeah, and he may not stay at shortstop for the entirety of his career. We'll have to see how that works out because the Mariners already have a good shortstop, and they also have a good second baseman, Adam Frazier. So short term, I don't know where he would play if he would have come up, but he's a high school player, so it'll take a while to develop. He hits the lefty, so I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if we see him moving forward as maybe a DH in the long term, but we'll see.
Now we go to 22, where the Cardinals selected Cooper Jerpy, and it looked like people were thinking maybe he could come up now, be a nice reliever for them as they make a playoff push, which I thought was an interesting thing because typically MLB Draft is like the longest payoff for a pick, but still a pitching they need, and they could use it now or they could use it in the future.
Yeah, and he's another player that comes out of college, so his track should be faster, and the Cardinals are definitely a win-now team, so maybe they're thinking about getting him up faster. Pitching, you can always use more pitching, so I'm never against it.
Now we go to 23, where the Jays selected a pitcher, where you've just talked about how they need pitchers. Brandon Barreria, he's a high schooler, though, so it's probably going to take a little bit more time.
Yeah, and he's a lefty pitcher, like you said. He's got a high school 6'2", 180. I've seen that he has some good stuff. They're a team that's struggling with pitching. They obviously fired Charlie Montoya, their manager, which was very shocking, but they're still trying to become a playoff team, and in the future they're going to still need pitching, so they go with him here.
Now we go to the Red Sox, who first round last year selected a shortstop. They selected a shortstop again, Mikey Romero. Little interesting because you already stacked at shortstop at the big league level with Trevor Story and Xander Bogaerts. Story's played in second base. And then you draft a shortstop last year. Maybe Bogaerts leaves, but then you draft another shortstop in Mikey Romero.
Yeah, and this is one that I really did expect because they have a good infield already. I think he's going to become a DH moving forward. They already have Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers, and Trevor Story. Trevor Story is on a 1-year deal though, or a small deal, so maybe he fills in later on at the position. He's another lefty shortstop, which is always useful, especially to make sure that you're not batting like 8 righties in a row. But yeah, I've seen some tape, and he looks to be a really good player.
Now we go with your Yankees. Spencer Jones was selected right fielder, 6'7". I think you may get a little deja vu.
Yeah, a little bit. He also plays a lot of right field from what I've seen, so I've seen that before. Maybe he's here to fill up a position from Joey Gallo, who has mightily struggled in the Yankees. With the Yankees this year, I know you're not too happy about how his
No, I'm
Yankees
very
tenure
happy.
has.
Well, I'm sad for Gallo, but Josh Smith starting off the order, then Glenn Otto, and then Ezekiel Duran, all playing in the majors for the Rangers is pretty nice.
Yeah, we'll take an all-star catcher though. Jose Trevino is pretty good.
Oh yeah, that was a gift. I'm happy for Jose because I love Heim and Garver, even though Garver's injured this year.
Yeah, I think it's worked out well for both sides in certain trades. Like I said, with Jose Trevino now being a top 2 catcher in the AL this year, but also Joey Gallo struggling. So it's not all been good for both sides, but it's all not been bad for both sides. It's worked out pretty well, and the Yankees and Rangers like to make a lot of trades. But Spencer Jones, I like him. He can hit. He gives me Andrew Judge vibes because of his. Aaron Judge vibes because of his height. He's a lefty though, so he stands on the other side of the box, and so that's why I get the Gallo vibes. He throws left, hits left, and so he's just the lefty version of Judge, I guess.
Yep, that's a nice comp. Now we go to the White Sox, where Noah Schultz was selected a left-handed pitcher from high school. White Sox do need pitching. I just wasn't familiar with Noah Schultz. I didn't have him going in my first round.
Yeah, I don't think I did either. I'm checking right now. No, I did not. But again, 6'9" pitcher. Teams are intrigued by that. So I think that partially because of his height, they're like, hey, we'll take a flyer on a guy who's only 6'9", and he's just a high school senior. He could grow more. Males can grow to 23, 24. We've seen Giannis go from 6'9" to 6'11. Anthony Davis from 6'10" to 7 foot. Maybe this guy continues to get taller, and with that, it could be really hard to hit.
That's a good point. Now we go to 27, where the Brewers selected Eric Brown, the shortstop. From what I've read, Brown may need to fix his swing, but he's a very nice hitter. So that's a bonus, but nice college hitter, which has been a thing of the past for the Brewers to select.
Yeah, and shortstop, it's a position that you really do need to lock down, and I think they got it here. I'm not really surprised. He is a player who's coming from college, so he'll be faster track, obviously, as we've said multiple times. And the Brewers are a team that's needed good infielding for a while now, so I'm not surprised that they take it.
Now we go to 28, where the Astros selected Tennessee player, another college player, Drew Gilbert, which their outfield seems pretty nice already, but adding a nice player like Gilbert could definitely help the tough, very good Astros.
You could have just said reigning AL winners or something like that.
Oh yeah, I know. I was like, wait, that's not your AL West. Yeah, I stalled out for a sec.
It's all good. Houston, very good at developing outfielders. They did it with Miles Straw, like I said, who they traded to the Cleveland Guardians. They also have Jordan, who plays in the outfield, Miles Straw, who plays in the outfield. Great players, and I think they got another one here with Drew Gilbert, faster track because of the college, but he's only 5'9", which I found very surprising for them to take an outfielder who's 5'9", but it could work out. He has some speed on him, so we'll see how it works out.
Maybe he moves to second base. No, it's not a traditional thing, but they have a track record of short second baseman. So now, 29, we go to Tampa Bay Rays, who selected Xavier Isaac, the first baseman from East Forsyth High School in North Carolina. Very surprising. Not sure where he is, but Rays do think out of the box.
This is the most Rays pick in the history of the Rays. They just really do enjoy taking players who no one has ever heard of in the first round. Like, obviously, he was ranked 113th according to MLB.com, but 113th at 29, that is a crazy rise up, and the Rays think they got a steal here. Now, why they would not wait till another round to take him, because I don't think he would have been taken, I don't know, but they just took the highest guy on their board, and this was it.
Yes. Now we go with the Giants selecting Reggie Crawford, the left-handed pitcher, but also can hit. And it seems like they are going to let him try both as a two-way player. So they do need pitching, and if they can get a pitcher that can hit, that seems like a pretty good combination.
Yeah, and he was the only two-way player to be taken in the first round. And the Giants, a team that's looking to be in a playoff spot right now, if they could get a Shohei Ohtani, I don't think they'd be mad. So they're taking a little bit of a risk here, but the payoff could be massive if he turns out to be even half the player Ohtani is.
Yes, that's a very good point, and a good point that we can end on for the MLB draft review. Let us know what you thought. Let us know what shocked you. What are you looking forward to now with the draft still going on? And that's all we got. Make sure to check out other videos, and we appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions.